let's record button and let's get rocking and rolling here. Before I get into what I want to talk about today, I want to see if anybody here has something specific that maybe you want to dive into around sales and acquisitions. If not, there's an interesting topic that I want to kind of dig into a little bit. Anybody got anything specific? Okay. Today, I want to get into a little bit around this idea of, it's basically the follow-up is what it all comes down to. And more importantly, I'm talking about following up in two really distinct components. One being more from, how many of you guys on here get some referrals, whether that be a referral from somebody else you've talked to, or a referral from another real estate investor, real estate specialist, maybe a referral from a real estate agent, right? I don't know how your referral process is, meaning what do you have them do, but I'm going to use TRC as the example, the way we get referrals in. But what I want you to pay attention to is the follow-up behind it, like the way that piece goes. Because a referral at the end of the day is a really, really solid lead if we work it. It could also fall apart really fast because if we don't show up, kind of sets the wrong tone, right? So when somebody refers, if you guys were to refer somebody over to us, a lot of times what ends up happening, JP's a big example. He pushes a lot of referrals our way. Jordan's been a big one lately. He's been pushing a lot of referrals. A lot of times what ends up happening is I get a Facebook message or an email or a text message from one of them with somebody else on it. And it's like, hey, Shawn, this is Sarah. I've talked to her a little bit about you guys. Definitely is interested in hearing more about what you got. At that point, what happens next, in my opinion, is very pivotal in how likely you are to move forward in getting something going with them. And something I've been playing a lot with lately, and it's in a lot of different businesses that I've been trying this on and that we have controls on, is instead of just texting back or writing back, replying to an email back, replying to the Facebook or Instagram message, or replying to a text message where I write text, replying with what makes sense for the format. So what do I mean by that? If Jordan connects me with somebody on Instagram, I will a lot of times reply back with an audio message, because audio in the Instagram DMs is kind of the unique feature. And now you can actually video chat on there. They're bringing more of the Facebook Messenger piece, but I don't necessarily want to call them on video right when they first got referred over, right? But I'll reply with a video or an audio chat. On Facebook, if somebody connects me via Facebook Messenger, I actually reply with a video. Not a video call. I'll hit the video button, and you can only do up to like 60 seconds. So let's say, somebody referred to Lorraine over. Lorraine's in this thing, and I'm just picking on you, Lorraine, because Liz joined and moved you to the middle. I might grab my phone and hit the video button, and I'm going to just shoot myself for 45, 60 seconds. Like, hey, Lorraine, great to meet you. This is Shawn with Top Results Consulting REI Toolbox. Would love to connect with you. Right after this, I'm going to send you the link to our site where you can check out some of our stuff and book a time for us to talk. And I'll send that video. And then I'll wait about 30 seconds or so, type out the URL for the website, and I'll send that. Any idea why this has been working really well? When it's this type of a referral piece following up this way.
It seems like it simulates. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it seems like it simulates a little bit better an interaction than just sending words, or even just hearing the voice and seeing the person at the same time. I don't know. I think it forces a bit more of a connection.
Absolutely. It kind of creates that personal touch, right? Sal, what were you going to say?
You've already been, it's not a cold call. You've already been informally introduced. So when you say, hi, this is Shawn from TRC, I was referred to you by so-and-so, that opens the door. And they say, oh, okay. And they're more open to listen to what you have to say.
Well, you're trying to go a different direction with it. I'm saying this person's already been connected to us. By me replying back, it's just putting that warm face to it now, right? They're getting to see a little bit more who this is. I like where you're trying to go, Sal. That's the second side of this. Okay. Now, email, I've done the same thing. Now in our industry, it's easy for me to, if Jordan or JP or Marie or somebody that pushes somebody over our way tells me a company name, hey, this is John with Rilo Homes. They were asking about our stuff and would love to know more about you. If I'm going to do it via email, I'll jump on their website, or I'll try to find, maybe I see something on their social profile, and I've shot Loom videos, quick 30-second, 60-second Loom video with their website behind it, or their Instagram page behind it, or something like that, and just be like, hey, John, great to meet you. I was actually just checking out some of your stuff. I can't wait to actually talk to you. So take that in the real estate side. Could you do something around that same piece? A real estate agent of yours sends a referral over. A couple of you guys said, yeah, that's where you're getting some of your referrals from. Maybe you already have the address, so maybe you do something like that. Or maybe it's just as simple as, hey, just shoot a quick 60-second or less video with yourself, just saying, hey, Chris, great to meet you. Can't wait to hear from you, on it. And then whatever your next step is. For us, it's getting them to the site, booking a call. It's the only way you get on my calendar is you got to book the call. But for you, maybe that's not the way that you want to go, right? Lorraine, that fits your model. But maybe John, you're saying, no, I just want him to go ahead and shoot me a text. But I can start that conversation with the video. Hey, nice to meet you. This is John with Rilo Homes. Do me a favor, shoot me a text back real quick with a good time that would make sense for you and I to talk. Or if you want to just chat it out through text message for a little bit, go ahead and send me a text and let me know what works best for you. They're pretty warm at that point, the onset of the referral, because they're expecting this to happen if they're being referred to you. Does that make sense? Now, that part's great. But how many of you guys have had it where you've reached out to somebody that was referred to you and they don't end up answering back? Or like, yeah, that sounds good. I'll go ahead and book a time. Or yeah, that sounds good. I'll take a look at my calendar and let you know. And then a day or two goes by and it's cold. Haven't heard from them again. Anybody ever experienced that? This is where having some sort of a referral follow-up system is key. For those of you on Lead Vault, this is stupid simple to build out. All we need is a couple messages, whether that be text message, email, something like that. Then when that person comes through in a referral like this, and you'd send that initial meeting kind of that hey, welcome, thanks for, look forward to kind of message. After a day or two, if it went cold on you, all you got to do is drop them into it. Key here is all these messages should simply be nothing more than reminding them that you'd still like to talk. Now, I believe I went over this subject line. I've used this line. I've used it as a subject line and a body message in emails. I've used it in text messages. It works really well at the end of this follow-up piece. I kind of use it as my last one. And that's the one, if it was going to be an email, the subject line is, I'm assuming one of three things happened. That'd be the subject line of it. That would be the first line in my text message if I was sending it as a text. It'd be something like, hey, John, I'm assuming one of three things happened. And then I literally just list them out. Number one, you already figured out your next move. You already decided to do something different with your property. Number two, you're still trying to figure out what makes the best sense. and you've just been busy, and that's why we haven't connected. Or number 3, you've fallen and you can't get up, and I should probably send help. And then I always end that one with, either way, no matter which one it is, just reply back and let me know which one. And if it's help, I'll get it there really fast. 99% of the time I get a reply that's, sorry, I've been busy. I just haven't had a chance. You know, something like that. Very, very rare is it number 1. They've chosen to do something else, and that's why they went cold on you. Majority of the time it's they got busy, they forgot, and they just have overlooked some of your follow-up attempts, right? But that one stands out because it's funny and it gets them to reply. Now, the other side of the referral piece is kind of where Sal was going. James is like, hey, Shawn, this has been really great. You know, my buddy Bob could definitely use this. But James isn't connecting me with Bob. James is just telling me Bob, right? And I'm smart, and I asked James, you know, hey, what would be the best way to get in touch with Bob? And James is like, oh, here's his number. Give him a call. He and I were at the gym, and he told me he was having the same kind of real estate issues, and this would be great for him. Now, this is still a referral. James is recommending that I talk to Bob because he knows Bob and knows what Bob's issues are, right? But it's not a super warm referral in the sense to where James is connecting Bob to me. Now, this one can be pretty fun. Before I go into any ideas, I want to see, how would Chris unmute? I'm going to put you on the spot. I got some new lines to pick on. How would you take that? If I said, hey, Chris, this has been really fun and really great. James, my boy James, I think he'd get some value out of talking to you guys. I think he could use your help as well. Here's how you can get in touch with James. Here's his phone number. What would you do next?
First, naturally, I'd want to give him a call right off the bat. Get a call, get in touch with them. If I can't, leave them a message right after that, and then continue to leave messages until I get a hold of them. That's naturally what I'd go to right away.
Okay. What would you say if, let's say, James answers? Ring, ring, James answers. What's that phone call sound like?
Hey, James, I was referred to you by Bob, right? That's right. I was referred to you by Bob. I heard that there's something that I'm able to help you with, and I'd like to get a little bit more information on your situation.
James, how comfortable would that moment be?
I mean, it'd be like, okay, I know why you're calling, but I think automatically it would put me in a defensive, not defensive, but more of like, okay, someone's going to try to sell me something, or, you know, try to convince me to do something that maybe I'm not sure I want to get into.
Yeah. What if he's not very happy that Bob was over here talking about his problems? Right?
Right.
And Chris, you're not wrong. That's the normal approach. That's the normal way somebody would do it. Hey, call my boy James. He could use this. What do? Cool. Give me his number. We pick up the phone because we're not afraid of that. And we're like, yo, James, this is Chris. Your buddy Bob told me to give you a shout. Even if you don't disclose too much, even if you just kept it that simple, James is still in the back of his head like, whoa, hold on a second. What's going on here? Wait, Bob who? Wait, Chris, what do you guys do? Right? We start off on a very bad foot. Would you guys agree? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So something I'm going to give you I'm going to give you two sides. A, the way that kind of makes that a little easier. And then B, this idea that popped into my head yesterday when I was driving, thinking about this, that I would love for somebody to try if you guys have got this, got a way of doing this right out of the gate. Okay. Option A, kind of a little easier approach to this, would be not jumping to begging for the date. What do I mean? Not jumping to immediately trying to call them. Instead, if Bob says, hey, get in touch with my buddy James, I might go to Bob and ask Bob, is that James's cell phone number? So that I know whether I have the option now to text or call, right? Yeah, that's a good cell phone number for him. Okay, now I got two options, right? The other thing I'm going to ask Bob to do is, hey, do me a favor. Could you reach out to James? Just give him a text or something and let him know that I'm going to shoot him a text or give him a quick call. Because I want Bob to kind of ease this up a little bit for me, right? Almost warm it up a little bit. This way, when I call James, let's say I pick up the phone and call James, and I'm like, hey, James, this is Chris with Ohana Legacy Properties. Your buddy Bob told me to give you a call. If James goes, who? Bob didn't tell me about this. You've got a little bit of an out. Dang it, Bob. I told him to ask you, I asked him to reach out to you to give you a heads up to do this, because guess what? James is probably going to be like, oh yeah, Bob never does those he never follows through with what he says. He's always a lazy guy or something.
Bullshit.
Just picking on you, Bob, because your camera's off.
I'm listening.
But you see how that kind of, now we take a defense. And remember what I talked about a couple weeks ago, conscious, subconscious. Conscious brain's the James going, who? What happened? Blah, blah, blah. And then I can make the joke. The joke speaks to the subconscious, can bring the defense down a little bit. That makes sense? Yeah. Now, the other thing, this is the option B. And there's a couple ways that you could go about this. And I would love for somebody to try any and all versions of this. Liz, Marie, this is what I was talking to you guys about earlier today. Chris, let's say Bob told you, reach out to James, right? James would be a good one for this. Instead of just asking Bob to send James a message, what if I say, hey, Bob, would it be okay if I sent James a message on behalf of you? Do you have his email address? Do you have his physical address? Not just his phone number. And let's say I can get, in the real estate world, I want to get James's real address, ideally, right? So that I can actually start doing some due diligence ahead of time. But I'm going to send James, if I can get Bob to say, sure, that sounds good, send a message on behalf of me. And I'll tell Bob, hey, I'm going to write this message up. I'll let you take a look at it as long as you're happy with it. I'm going to send it off on behalf of you. And I want his address because I want to drop a letter in the mail to him. But that letter in the mail is not coming from Chris with Ohana Legacy. That letter is coming from who?
From Bob.
Bob. So it's addressed to James, but it's got a return name as Bob. Why would I do this?
It's going to have the person look at it and say, oh, it's something from Bob. I know Bob. I'll open it up right away.
Exactly. Where do most people filter to their mail?
The trash can.
By the
Over
trash
the
can.
trash can. Absolutely. Mail comes in from the mailbox. They go to their kitchen area or wherever their normal trash can is at. They start siphoning through it. The trash gets ripped up and thrown in. And the stuff that they actually want to open up gets sat off to the side and opened. Well, if James is flipping through his mail and sees a letter addressed to him from a name like Bob, who he knows, probably going to pull that off to the side. Wonder what Bob's writing me a letter for. What is this, an invitation to something? Right, this is where you can get really fun and creative. Put it in make it in an invitation style envelope. What Bob getting married again? Bob having a kid? What, Bob having a party? What's going on here? All I care about is that that letter gets what? Opened. I saw you mouth it, Chris, or James. All I care about is that that letter gets opened. Now, in that letter, I'm going to write like I'm Bob. So I'm going to write this letter to James saying, hey, James, this is Bob. As you know, kind of we were struggling a little bit. We were going through some real estate times. I talked to you a little bit about it, but I found this company and this guy named Chris. His company's Ohana Legacy Properties. They were able to help me out really well. And it actually was a lot easier of a process than dealing with all the troubles of listing my house and all this other stuff. And I know you and I were talking and you've been experiencing something similar. And I really think Chris and Ohana would be something good for you. Here's their information so you can kind of reach out to them. Now, where's the key to this whole system?
It's that personal relationship between Bob and James that is facilitating him reaching out to Chris.
There's that, but where's the key, right? I don't really care about if James does anything with the letter other than open it and read it. So the key is what happens right after this, the next aspect.
Oh,
You guys mail a letter locally. How long do you think it takes to get to a local address? You're in the market, you're mailing to that market. What do you think?
a day or two.
Yeah, I saw Gene, you think you put like 3 fingers up, right? Maybe somewhere between 1 and 3 days, they're going to get it. So I'm going to mail Bob's letter to James today. And what do you think I'm going to immediately drop in the mailbox the next day?
A letter from you.
A letter from me or a postcard from me. And now we're literally starting our marketing funnel at that point. Maybe I drop the postcard that's got the QR code to my website. I have James's contact information from Bob. Maybe a day or two later, I hit James with, because I know by now he probably got both letters. Maybe that's when I hit him with a text message or a phone call. If James is in a bad situation, just like Bob was in a bad situation, you think other people are also trying to get in touch with James? Absolutely. But if James finds out that Bob just worked with you and had great success, is James more or less likely to take your call or talk to you or read your information over everybody else? More or less likely.
A lot more like.
Right?
Well, unless he doesn't like Bob and then he's pissed off that you sent his address to somebody. That's a whole other ball of wax.
Well, and that's where you got to make sure you're asking for, this comes down to, Chris being smart and saying, okay, Bob's a raving fan of us, right? Actually, I'm going to use Chris as a great example. Chris is a super raving fan of our brand, The Kind Botanicals. Loves it. He and I were talking about it like crazy the other night. Could I do this exact strategy? Now we're going into a product world. Could I do this exact strategy and go, Chris, who are 3 other guys that you lift with that you think would be absolutely thrilled to be on this product, that are also competing and would love to have a sponsorship? And get 3 names from Chris. And then follow up the same thing. Hey, Chris, would you mind if I shot them a letter or shot them a message or dropped something to them on behalf of you? Well, if I sent them a sweatshirt, the Kind Botanical sweatshirt that's addressed coming from you with a little note inside of it. Yeah, sure, Shawn, go for it. Sweet. And then I follow up behind that with some other stuff. And we get them to start being on the product and trying the product, and they fall in love with it too. And it's all because what? They trust it a little bit more because I brought Chris to the surface. It's not the kind reaching out cold. It's Chris reaching out saying, dude, I love this stuff. This has been great for me. You should also try it because you're just like me. And it gave us the warm door to walk into.
Chris, if he hasn't asked you for that list, he is asking you now. So 3 names, please.
On that side, we can have real fun with it. Hey, Chris, give me those 3 names. And when they start buying, you get percentage of what they buy.
Shawn, when we were in, when I was in hospital sales many moons ago, if we were friends with someone in, let's say, primary care office and in a hospital, and we had to go see someone in infectious disease, we would ask the secretary or the receptionist, say, well, who is it that I have to see? And they'd say, oh, it's Dr. So-and-so up on the 3rd floor. I'd say, would you mind giving him a call and let him know that I'm in your office right now and I'm going to be run up the stairs and go see him? There was a 100% chance that doctor was going to see me because I knew someone in that office, and at least knew that I was in the building, you know? So it's kind of like that, kind of like a warm approach.
It's the same thing. Gene, I guarantee you've done these type of strategies and the stuff that you do, but for some reason we jumped to real estate and everybody's like, oh, that doesn't work. Or, oh, I never thought of it there.
So I have a question regarding that. I was just thinking, I mean, an example with you and Chris, let's say you gave Chris a water bottle with the kind logo. He just takes it to the gym. Everybody knows Chris, sees him lifting, he's drinking this and oh, where'd you get that? What are you drinking? Can we do the same? Like, let's say I sold a house or I helped out a seller, give him a pen. I mean, because we in the medical industry, I don't know if this applies to real estate. There's something called the Sunshine Act, where you cannot, it's highly regulated. I couldn't even give you a quarter, you know, as it would be considered violation of the Sunshine Act. But if I sold a house to someone, I gave them a logo pen or a book, is that okay? Is that
or a tumbler like this with your logo on it? This is the
correct? Yeah. That's kind of like free advertising.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Gene, we have a we call it a goodie package, and we put 2 or 3 pens in there. We put a couple of sticky notepads in there with our logo in it. And every time we go to a house, we drop it off and leave it. Or if we meet up with the realtor, we leave it with them, and they're absolutely surprised. In fact, I've gotten calls back for them saying, hey, can I have some more of those pens? And but the fact is, yeah, you're right. It works real well in this business to be able to do stuff. Anything with your name on it, even if they look at it once and throw it out, you've still gotten what you need out of it.
Who's ever had
trying to get Chris a free water bottle? You can get
Chris
Gene, if you saw Chris work out, nobody would walk near him. So no one's going to go touch anything of his. So.
Well, no, they'll just see the bottle and they're like, if he's drinking that and he can live that, I'm going to take the same thing.
Who's ever gotten postcards at their house from roofing companies? It says something like, we just did your neighbor's roof. Who's ever gotten the real estate one that's from the real estate agent that's like, I just sold this house. And it's a picture of the house down the street that they just sold. Gene, that's basically what you're saying right there. That's that strategy. If you just did something in a neighborhood, you just like, okay, Terry, you got a property that you're about to finish up, which means you've already helped the homeowner because you're in the rehab process and you're trying to finalize it. What if you took a picture of the house previous to you starting it, put that on a postcard? It was like, we just helped the homeowners here save X, save a bunch of stress, save a bunch of money in closings, whatever it might be, right? Find some highlight of why whatever you just did to them was grateful, was good.
My agent does that. He does a before and after, and then he goes door knocking the neighborhood with the postcard with a picture of both pictures on it.
Right, but that's helping him find listings.
Well, but helps us too, though. I agree. But in regards to Gene's question too, my niece works for Cutco Knives in the LA area, and all she does are real estate events. And these agents give like a combination cheese knife and whatever knife, and it's got their real estate information engraved on the knives as a closing gift to the people buying or selling the homes. So she's the #1 knife person in the US by just dealing with real estate people.
Those are some good knives, those Cutco knives.
Yeah.
They're pretty good.
Not cheap though.
They're not cheap,
Yeah.
no.
That's back end. That's back end type marketing, right?
John, what about
talking about-
actually asking them to like text you both at the same time? Like,
Absolutely.
you know, let them know, hey, this is Marie. She just helped me out. You know, she's going to reach out to you directly or something.
Absolutely. I've done that a number of times. JP or Jordan, I use them because they probably two to three times a week, they message me with somebody. And I'll tell them, hey, do me a favor, connect us on Messenger together, or hey, let's start a 3-way chat and connect us real quick. Now they just do it automatically. But that absolutely could be. I mean, obviously these are, people I got good relationships with and we're constantly talking and doing stuff. You wouldn't have that necessarily with your homeowners that you're talking to. So to Marie's point, absolutely, you could say that. Hey, Chris, that's really neat. I appreciate you saying James could also use us. Could you do me a favor and text all three of us together? Start a group text with us and introduce me to James in that text. That's going to break the ice and warm it up a little bit more. And it doesn't, I don't want you guys to think like you got to wait until you've even done a full deal with somebody. Lorraine, let's take Lorraine for an example. You get on and talk to somebody and you open up their eyes and they realize, holy crap, there's this whole other side of real estate that I didn't know about, but they're not quite ready today. That's a great opportunity to say, hey, I'm glad I was able to give you some information, and hopefully soon, maybe you and I will be doing some things together. In the meantime, is there anybody else that could get some value out of talking about this and seeing what's out there?
And I don't ask for referrals. I've gotten some based on people that I've spoken with, but that's a good way to kind of keep the communication open or transition to the next call.
100%. Even on the real estate, the traditional real estate side, you guys talk to a lot of people that they don't end up accepting your offer, or they don't end up, going all the way through the whole process. But when it's at a high moment where they're like, this was good, this was helpful, we kind of appreciate it. I wish we could maybe get the numbers a little bit better, and they're realizing maybe this isn't the choice for them. Ask. The only thing they'll tell you that could possibly be negative is, no, I don't know anybody. But the second they say, yeah, actually, I do know somebody. Awesome. Who is it? I'd love to be able to get in front of them and help them out.
Well, this would be equivalent to if you're, let's say you're doing some scraping on Craigslist or Facebook Market, and you scrape down to the realtor and you call the realtor out of nowhere, say, this property here, and they say, we're really not interested in that property, we're interested in the realtor. And you let them talk about it. You say, well, okay, is there anything else that you can think of? Or is there, once they get to trust you, you say, well, look, if you see anything in this situation, such as distressed properties or real estate transactions that don't necessarily fit the normal process, would you consider giving us a call and letting us take a look at it? And we always get a really positive answer, and we've had people send us stuff. So there's a lot of ways that you can set that up, and you got to stay in touch with them.
Oh, and that's where I said the key is the follow-up steps behind it. Right? You can't just stop at the first piece, because not everybody's going to jump right away, right? They're not going to immediately, yeah, sure, let's talk tomorrow at blah 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 time. You're going to get answers like, yeah, let me take a look at my schedule, or they might not answer right away, right? So the continual follow-up behind that, whether that be automated or at maybe the first couple are more manualized, and then if it's kind of dying out, you get them into a longer term follow-up aspect. Now, I'm going to throw this out there, mainly because I'm trying to push Marie and Liz to get this thing finished sooner. But when you've got an authority grabber, like a book, this is the time to leverage it. Lorraine, you might want to write this down because your next move is a book. But like Marie and Liz are almost done. We're getting super, super close to having their book done, and they're going to be like super dialed in and focused on helping property owners who have multiple properties liquidate and save in the capital gains side, save in the tax side, right? Well, who's a player in this space that has access to her audience? What industry has access to her audience? Come on, Lorraine, you've got a second business doing it.
I said accountants. I was on mute.
Yeah. Tax professionals, right?
Mhm.
Tax professionals are in front of the exact people that Marie wants to be in front of. So an easy way to get some referrals to get in front of more tax individuals is when Marie does meet a property owner asking, hey, who do you use for your taxes? Even if they're not interested in selling stuff, Marie could just follow up with, well, who do you guys use for your taxes? Can you give me the name of their company? Can I get their address if they knew the address? If not, you look that up. And now, Marie, you can mail the book to the tax person on behalf of the other individual. And inside the first part of the book cover is a little letter from Marie as well saying, love to talk to you about how we could also work with you and some of your other clients. Because part of what Marie and Liz are doing is not just helping them avoid capital gains by telling them what to watch out for, it's by doing creative finance structure and lease optioning and rent, seller finance, carrybacks, these type of things. But that authority grabber, that book, that cuts through the noise. It's also a package that's coming in the mail that's probably not getting thrown in the trash. Because it's not just a postcard or a letter, right? Marie, you guys could do the same thing with people that you talk to that's like, hey, who else do you know that owns a lot of properties that may or may not be wanting to sell? You may not know if they want to sell, but I just want to get this information in front of them for when they do want to sell. And he mailed a book on behalf of that other person to the person they said. Questions, comments, thoughts?
Shawn, what's your suggestion on, okay, so you're reaching out and you're trying this stuff and you're not getting anything back. Okay, you're just not getting, and you're doing everything that you think you're supposed to be doing, but you're not getting it back. At what point? It's probably a judgment call. At some point, you just got to pick up the phone and try to reach out to them.
Yes and no. My first thought immediately goes to the messaging. If I'm putting this kind of stuff out there and I'm not getting any answers at all, I'm immediately going to the messaging. I'm not immediately going to, that's not working and I just need to get back to beating up phones. Now, if I'm getting some response, but not a lot, then maybe it's okay. I need to reevaluate. Am I trying to stay in the shadows too much? And at some point I need to get onto a phone, try to call them right away. In all of these scenarios, I wouldn't wait too long till I actually physically call the person anyway. All I'm trying to do is one or two things ahead of time to make that phone call less defensive. Right? So to give you an example, the podcast that I was listening to yesterday where they were breaking this down from a product standpoint, the fun scenario that I just gave you with sending something on behalf of somebody else, this was a product type thing. This podcast that I was listening to. And one thing that they started doing was, so they sent like a free gift on behalf of somebody, right? Chris buys our product, falls in love with our product. I ask him who else should have this type of stuff, who else would get value out of this, and I mail them a couple samples of the kind, right? On behalf of Chris. Then I immediately follow up behind that with another postcard or some sort of mailing, or if I had their information, maybe I shoot a text message to them or an email, as the company now, right? The third one, and in that is like some sort of a special offer. Like, hey, Sal, Chris told me to send you, Chris wanted to send you some products. By now, you probably already got those. Hopefully you've been trying those. I wanted to send something out, and since Chris, we want to go ahead and give you, whatever, 50% off your first order. Here's the code for it, right? Week goes by, Sal hasn't put any order in. I send them kind of the final attempt. And what they found in this product company that was working really, really well, and I think it would kill it in the real estate world, is who's ever gotten some like a bill where you're going to get your utilities shut off or your cell phone or something, and it's like final notice, really big and red. Well, they started mailing postcards that was like final notice. It literally looked like something was going to get shut off. And then on the back of it was kind of like, hey, here's your final notice, your final chance to get this offer. So something like that's how, where it's like, hey, one or two, and if they still haven't, then maybe I hit them with something. Maybe it's, a urgent notice text message or a piece of mail, postcard or something that's like final notice, can only help so many people, and I want it to be you, kind of thing. Or take my idea, the email that's always worked really well, right? Where I joke, like, something's happened to you. Did you fall and can't get up, kind of thing. Maybe the front of that postcard is like, need help? And it's got a picture of somebody trying to grab a phone hitting 911 or something. Something that gets their attention. That's all we're going for here. To try to like a last ditch effort. The idea here is, direct response marketing is so much easier to deal with than cold outreach. Cold outreach is like, it's just a heavyweight fight. It's who can stand there longer, take more hits, is going to get the opportunities, right? It's going to win the victory there. Direct response marketing, it's a little more warm. Well, cold outreach is really simple to just, hey, I got one big blanket type campaign and I just run the hell out of it and pump a bunch of stuff through it and try to see what shakes out at the bottom. It's cold outreach on ads. It all comes down to AdSense. If it's cold outreach on cold calling, it's just how many times can I smile and dial the phone? Text message. How many times can I blast the text message out to get that little piece? Direct response, we're actually having fun with the campaigns. We're going to have multiple little campaigns in an area. This gives you that ability to really niche down or hone in on certain areas in the market and find an audience and do something very specific to that audience. But then you can find this audience over here and do something very specific to this audience over here. And I can play a little different acquisition strategy on each one of them because I'm able to get more granular. Does that make sense? Your volume will be less. Volume of marketing, volume of acquisition calls, it's going to be less. But what do you think happens to the quality? Yeah, you'll have less calls. You'll have less discussions. Early on, it's going to feel like nothing's coming through, nothing's really working. It's because you're getting rid of all the pointless time wasters. And then it picks up steam. And those things start to click. Those things start to work out. Before you know it, you're like, wow, I'm having a lot of really good conversations. You're just having less terrible ones. What it really came down to, you're finally finding the good stuff. You just got to fight through that early onset of it. Make a sense? Who's going to give something like this a try? You can go back and do anybody that's done a past deal. I'd encourage you, reach out to the original seller that you dealt with. I don't care how long it's been, even if it's been like a year ago. Reach out to them, be like, hey, you know, this is Chris with Ohana Legacy. I know we helped you guys out last year or whatnot. We're actually, my dad and I, we're putting some new things together. The company's got some new ways of helping homeowners. And I was just kind of going back to people we helped in the past. I just wanted to check up on you, see how things are going for you now, number one. Number two, see if there's anybody that you know of that maybe could use our help. No, sorry, Chris, we don't. Okay, cool. No big deal. Glad everything's going well for you. You never know. You might find something out there just from past people that you've done something with.
It's almost like replanting a seed too, if they forgot the past.
100%. The other side of it that I would encourage, if any of you are currently doing a project that I would encourage, is drum up a cheap little 4x6 postcard. You're not even mailing this thing. Get 50, 60, 80, 100 of them printed. We used to do it with letters. The second we started a rehab project, I would have our rehab guys walk every single street around the house and drop a letter off at every home. That basically was just saying, hey, we're getting ready to start doing a bunch of renovation work to this. There's going to be a lot of trucks in and out. There's going to be a lot of contractors coming through doing some stuff. Just want to apologize up front for the inconvenience, but here's, you know, kind of our game plan kind of thing. We're expected to be done within the next X number of weeks to this. We're actually going to be having a what we call our VIP open house that we would like all of our neighbors to come over on that night and check out the property before we actually put it on the market. And I used to, in the summer months, I used to actually do like burgers and hot dogs in the driveway. But if nothing more, bring the kids over. If you got, you know, if it's a heavy kid neighborhood, if anything, just come on over, bring kids, bring family, whatever. Grab yourself a hamburger or hot dog and check out the house. And then when we were ready to go to the market, I would tell our agents to go ahead and put an open house on like a Friday night, even though that's not normal. Because I would have the neighborhood coming on that same Friday night. So now agents bringing real people that are really interested in buying this, they come in and they see a whole lot of people in the property. What do you think happens?
A bidding war.
Emotions. Emotion. Now 90% of the people there were just there for the hamburgers and hot dogs and check out the house because they've been trying to figure out what we were doing to it the whole time we were working on it because they live in the neighborhood. But it got word out like crazy. And we used to get a ton of people that we didn't even help. We would just get a lot of people that would send us a message on social media, or they call our office and be like, hey, my neighbor is, you know, dealing with some stuff. Think you guys should talk to them. Or while we were at a project, I would get that. Somebody'd come over and be like, you know, Susie across the street, she might be a good one for you guys to talk to. Awesome, Chris. Can you do me a favor? Could you walk across the street right now with me and knock on the door and introduce me to Susie so she doesn't wonder who I am? Worked like a charm. Anything else? Thoughts, comments, questions?
All good stuff.
Sweet. Now, hint, hint, wink, wink. You're going to want to use maybe some QR codes if you are mailing stuff. Drive them online. Get them to the website, even if it's just driving them to the About Us page. If you've built out your About Us page the right way. Location page, something like that. Give them that option to get on there to see, and let the digital side pick up a little bit of the justification that you guys are actually serious. don't ignore that component of it. Sound good? All right. Nobody's got anything else. We can wrap her up today. I'm going to actually build on this a little bit tomorrow as well, in the marketing side.